get us connected up to the cloud, and we should be going live here in just a second. There we are.
Great.
Welcome to the Making Awesome Podcast, episode 189. I forgot that I don't have a multi-streamer, so when I click stream now, it definitely got you guys a little bit of the intro. But we are here hanging out with Robert, aka Armored Turtle, who is making something that's actually pretty darn cool. It's not very often that we see really awesome open source stuff anymore. I think this industry is moving toward going more closed source. But Armored Turtle, buddy, you've got something cool. We're going to talk all about it. But first, I need the backstory, boys, from you. The who you are, the where you're from, the what you did, and as long as you love me.
So obviously I'm Robert Klotz, Armored Turtle. I'm just from middle of nowhere guy that's into 3D printers. Find it a really fun hobby. What I've done is I've made a lane-based automated filament changer. And in the process of doing that, I've made it modular just to consolidate things and make it scalable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's like, I love when like people that make something really cool are just like incredibly humble about it. Dude, your modular filament system can work from as low as how many spools and as up to how many spools?
You could just do one and use it as like an automated loader for your
Right.
printer. Theoretically, 128, or there's not really a limit to it.
So I could have 128 different colors in one print if I really wanted to hate myself.
Yeah, if you really wanted to, and you wanted to wait for all of those changes,
Say,
there's no reason you couldn't.
I can't imagine the purge. What that would like. Your build plate would be purge because this is for a clipper machine, and that normally means you don't have a poop chute unless you design one in. It's a clipper machine, so I guess. But like, yeah, what happens when you start going to a lot of colors? You have to have a pretty big purge block, right?
Yeah, you could do a purge block, or you could also do the pooping just like a bamboo or something, and just have the tool head kick it off the build plate. That's what a lot of people are doing with these kinds of things right now.
That would probably work for something like a Trident, but on like you have a Voron 2.4 back there, that probably wouldn't work for very long, would it?
No, I've got like 700 changes in a row doing that, pooping on the back corner and just kicking it off. On the switch wire there, we're just being very careful about getting it to the nozzle and doing the purge tower.
Okay. And so your system, it's effectively an open source AMS, right? That's going to be the best way to describe it, because especially when you put four of them together like you have behind you on the switch wire, it looks basically just like an AMS. And there's a reason for that, right?
Well, yeah. It's a lane-based system. Unlike the Prusa MMU or the Carrot Feeder, the AMS and this, each spool of filament has its own driver that takes it to and from the tool head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that kind of just inherently makes it look a certain way.
But you know what? It's a tried and proven design that seems to work quite well. So I say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I forgot some housekeeping stuff. We are joined by some awesome people. We got Max H. Madcat USA is here. I see David Connor Shover, Local Maker MI. We have Stuart Fisher, Duff, FJ Prince, Nathan. I always get Nathan's last name wrong, so it's just going to be Nathan. We got Slow Mo, Tarsman013, Thomas, and Crimson Gaming VR. You all are here hanging out. Thank you. Leave a like, get subscribed, all those things that help support the channel. If you are listening back to this one, audio only, I might highly suggest that you go find it on YouTube, because seeing what we're talking about might be a little useful on this one. So, David is asking, didn't someone set up an off-color duplicate of the original as a purge? You could, right? So you could definitely purge into another model. It just is going to look really weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many methods of doing it, and because we're using Klipper, it's really up to you how you want to do it.
And for Crimson Gaming VR says, I need this stat. Excited for this one. They can already get it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's already on the GitHub. Things are still kind of early. We're just doing quality of life stuff, but everything's there to build your own right now.
And you guys were at Rocky Mountain. We didn't get a chance to talk with you at Rocky Mountain on camera. And when we talked in person, I said I could come and interview you, but honestly, I think you're going to have a lot more fun on a podcast where you can get deeper into the tech about this. We can stay surface level if you want, but the podcast is here specifically to go into things and really understand it. Because, like, I guess my only... All right, I'm going to be a little bit weird on this one. My only multicolor filament printer that isn't a tool changer is the Bamboo, right? And I think the AMS is a really, really well-made system, right? It's integrated quite well. I've used tool changing, like there's a Prusa XL, you can see it poking down there, up there, and that works a charm. But it's often so bloody expensive that the cost to get involved in it is more than the average person wants to spend. What does it look like to say, I want fully open source and I want to have multicolor? What does it cost to put a 4-color 8-track onto a Klipper printer at this point?
So obviously things aren't kitted right now. So you have to self-source everything, and that's going to kind of come down to what you end up paying. Like I got the extruder gears for 99 cents a piece, but a lot of the people in our Discord right now are paying about $4 to $5. But we're averaging to build one of these. People are reporting around the $200 mark.
Dude, that's a great price because an AMS from Bamboo is going to run you like what, $300-400? So you're able
350.
Yeah, 350. Okay, so you're able to build something that, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. It looks just like an AMS, and it's because that system makes sense, for less money, and it is theoretically infinitely expandable. So if I wanted to go to 5, I just slap another one on the side, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what? Honestly, that's kind of nice because with, like, I'm used to the XL that has 5 tool heads. So when I go to the Bamboo to do something fun, I'm like, I gotta do a manual change because I only have one AMS. But if we were using an 8-track, although it wouldn't work on a Bamboo, so ignore the fact that I said Bamboo there. But if we were going to something like an 8-track and I needed another color or I wanted another material, there's a pretty big value there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say you had built one that's only 4 colors and you needed to add a 5th color. One of the things about it is, well, all of the cassettes are hot swappable. So once it finishes that color, you just slide another one in real quick.
The cassettes are hot swappable?
Yeah.
Buddy. See, okay. Robert and I met to talk about this a little bit before we streamed, and I told him, I said, don't tell me too many things right now. I want a lot of my reactions to be real, right? That he did not tell me. He didn't tell me that it's hot swap, because, and I guess that makes sense. So do you have to pull out filament on that new spool to put it in, or is it use like a pogo pin system to run the drive motors?
So what we've done, obviously, it requires a proprietary board because you cannot put pogo pins on a 3D print. They're gonna break.
You are using pogo pins. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, these are on the GitHub too, the Gerber files, if people want to source them themselves.
So
fully open source.
It's not just hot swappable, it's electrically hot swappable. It is yes. Perfectly, because like when people say, oh, it's hot swappable, what they actually mean is, no, you have to manually feed the filament in. Not just you literally take it out, you put it in, and it recognizes that there's a motor there again, and it can run it.
Hmm.
Dude. Okay. So, is there a system that recognizes that there's no longer a color there? Like, is that built into the firmware that if let's say I pull it out, but I don't put a new color in, will it notice that?
We'll get into firmware in a bit.
Okay.
There's some interesting stuff there, and that's why Bamboo has their own proprietary software. But yes, if there's a filament sensor in the cassette, so basically, if you're out of filament, it's inactive, or if you take it out,
It's
it doesn't see a
inactive.
filament sensor. Yeah, exactly.
Dude! Dude, that's genius. That's freaking genius. Because it solves the problem of, especially when it comes to pogos, right? Because if you don't align it perfectly, the pogo might not get to where it needs to go. And if it doesn't do that, and the machine still assumes there's something there, it'll fail to print. But because your
Mm-hmm.
filament sensor is such that it won't trigger properly unless it's actually connected with the pogos, oh, that is, and that's why it's infinitely expandable, dude.
Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit about variation and what people could do with this, because let's be real, if any of you are going over 25 colors, you're a masochist. You're just a masochist. There's no reason. And if you need more than 25 colors, call me. I got a full color 3D printer I'll sell you. Okay. Um, but realistically, I think there's way more value for like a print farmer who wants to have all of their materials loaded into something like this. So instead of me having to get up off my butt to go and load a filament in, I can just choose the one that I want and it will grab it. And it might take 5 meters worth of Bowden tube to get to where it needs to go. But you can then use it for a farm-based application.
Yeah, you absolutely can. And something we've been messing with a little bit is actually getting the to load between different printers, which comes back to the print farm application.
Excuse me? Loading between different printers?
There's tricks and catches to that, but yeah, we're working on it.
Oh, there's got to be some sort of like system, a multiplexing system to move Bowden tuber. All right, we're gonna get into that. Not right now, because we're still kind of on the intro for this. But what? Like, I'm imagining a rep rack, okay, with just a bunch of these. You should make the containers have a mod for it that fits onto the rails of a rep rack. That'd be super dope. And then I just plug in all of my filament on this rep rack, and it just does it. This is where the value of QR codes, or not QR codes, of NFC is, and why I think that Bamboo was intending to do something that they didn't do. I firmly believe that Bamboo was initially intending their machine to only work with their materials and their materials alone. Because currently their NFC system has pretty much zero value. It doesn't do anything. It just, okay, the machine will know what material is in it. But if you could have a NFC system attached to some sort of load cell, you'd be able to monitor how much filament is left without checking on it. And I think that's what NFC could actually do. Because it could monitor how many times it rolls around, and based on that knowledge, it knows how much material is still left. You're laughing. Do you already have this?
Um, Someone's already kind of done something for Klipper. It's called Spool Man,
Of
and
course.
it just monitors G codes,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell it which spool, and yeah, it keeps track without even using a load cell.
That's so cool, dude. That's so freaking cool. I do see that you are joined by a co-host. What is the name of said co-host?
I didn't know I had a co-host.
There's a cat in your background.
Oh, this one, his name is actually Zima, which is Russian for winter, but we just call him Bear because he's a big.
Makes sense.
pounds. Yeah, everyone missed the other cat that was in the window earlier.
Yeah, there was another cat in the window. Uh, no one has noticed the fact. Like no one said, "Oh, there's a cat, there's a cat." So I decided I would call it out because I think that's fun. Um, oh man, so yeah, there's a lot of interesting comments in the chat right now. So TechJeepers says new idea. We have speed benchy. We also need sloth benchy contest. Who can print the slowest benchy? TechJeepers also saying the NFC system was another way to simplify printing for the masses, takes out the learning curve of material settings. It definitely doesn't. Unless, because even bamboo stock profiles are not all that good, but oh well. I don't want to get too deep into that. Because part of this is you're operating in a fully open source environment that includes the printers, if people want. I guess there can be closed sourced Klipper printers. There shouldn't be, but there are. Fully open source printer, fully open source, system called an 8-track. Why the name 8-track? Because it looks nothing like a tape to me.
It's honestly just because we're putting the spools each in their own cassette, and they just click in.
I didn't know if there was just because there was a design that happened to have 8 that was the premium design. Because I love the little hat on top of the Voron. I say little, but that's a pretty sizable hat on top of the Voron. Where how many can you fit on top of the Voron?
So this is a 350 size 2.4. It's a 10-inch touchscreen on it.
Mm-hmm.
You could do there if you really wanted to.
I'm sorry, we lost that. What did you say? How many could you do?
We could do 10 on top or underneath a 350 sized Voron.
10.
Yeah, you could fit 10.
Okay. All right. Oh, this trident's gonna get complicated. Oh boy. Okay. Well, there's that, I guess. So 10 reels. Wow. So on a 300, 8 is probably pretty reasonable then. Yeah, 8 would be reasonable.
Yeah.
4 on each side, I would assume.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a nice form factor too. I mean, not for print farms because obviously you want the side to side space, but if you only have a couple of machines, that's a really, really nice form factor that you guys have built in there. Do you also sell the PCBs? So let's say I don't want to order PCBs. Would you sell PCBs that we could just straight buy to get this system, or how would that work?
We've been selling them. It takes a long time. All the stuff is very expensive, so sourcing everything to sell them myself is expensive. But they are on the GitHub, the Gerber files, if people want to source and make them themselves. And we do have someone potentially working on mass producing them.
Okay. Yeah, and hopefully it's with clear PCBs. That's all I'm saying. Now that Big Tree Tech has showed what clear PCBs look like, I really don't want anything other than clear PCBs. I don't know if you have a 2-layer PCB or if you need more than that, but still super cool. How much custom electronics are involved in this? Is it just that PCB, or is there much more complex stuff as well?
So right now, what we're telling people to do is use a Big Tree Tech MMD can, which is off the shelf. It is exactly sufficient. It's not ideal, but it's sufficient to run this. This is why this is what's on the GitHub right now. We have a custom control board, but it's custom and extremely expensive, and getting those mass produced, who knows?
Right.
And being modular, if you want to ditch the cassettes, use PCBs that we made. You can just make a little rack with 3 spoolers, the extruders.
Yeah,
and then you just hook everything up into a board that's already on the market.
Yeah, you wouldn't need if you're not looking for hot swappable, you don't technically need that pogo board PCB anyways.
Right.
That's super freaking cool, dude. Monkey Butler Lab says, how approachable is the project at this stage? After the build, does it just work, or is it still in a state that requires constant tinkering and maintenance?
So ideally, there would be a Python block that would go into Klipper, which needs a lot of work. Right now, we've got modules that are, or not modules, but just macros that you can just drop into your CFG for your Klipper machine and make it work. It takes a really long time to do a lot of color changes. I usually kill it around 500. I've broken filament once, but I mean, you're changing filament, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to have a guarantee. I think that the big thing for a lot of these projects is the software solution behind it. And if you guys have a decent software solution, then yeah, that tends to make it a little bit easier than, let's say something that doesn't have a great software solution and you're kind of just, fumbling around trying to make it work. And it seems like you actually have a decent software side of it, right?
Yeah. So right now, what's on is literally just pure macros. Anyone that has a Klipper machine can drop them into their config. It's not exactly ideal, but it works and it works reliably.
Okay.
And it's one of the scopes of the project is trying to make this easy. I just got my first Ender 3 and I rooted it to Ender 3 Klipper one, whatever. And I rooted it to I've got borons and all that in between.
Interesting. I will say your camera is running at about 5 frames a second, but we're making it work. We can hear you, but your camera's running at about 5 frames a second.
Like I said in the beginning, I'm from the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's the middle of nowhere problems. But we have decent audio, so that's all that matters currently. Okay. I am still a Klipper moron, right? Anyone that has watched our first Voron build knows this. I'm an idiot when it comes to Klipper. And I also think belt routing on Tridents sucks. I love you, Steve, but the belt routing's tough. How easy is this for a moron like myself to implement into a system? Because, like, it's pretty damn cool, okay? I'm just saying it's pretty cool, and I kind of want to put it specifically on my Magneto X, but I would also like to see it on, on our Voron Trident. How simple would this be for someone that has no idea what the hell they're doing?
So right now, there's not an instruction manual.
Oh.
Not yet, because we're still working on the quality of life stuff.
Okay, soon TM for me then, because if there's not a manual, I'm not touching it.
There will be.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier than building a printer. It's a lot easier than building a printer.
I assume, and it's like, you really only need the instruction manual to build one. Because then it's just, to build 2, start over at step 1. To build 3, start over at step 1. If you need to build another one, please return to the beginning and start over. I would probably just build them all at the same time, but yeah. Is there any difference between 1, 2, 3, and 4, or are they all just the exact same units?
They're all exactly the same.
Okay. So then there's, and it's all CAN. It's all driven by CAN, basically.
No, the cassettes themselves are actually just kind of dumb.
Oh, yeah, they probably have one for the motor, one for the PC, one for the filament sensor, and that's it.
We wanted to put hot swappable CAN bus in them so that we could do like spool tracking and whatnot to the actual cassette. So we have to do software workarounds to do that, because if you try to hot swap CAN and Klipper, you're going to have a bad time. It's not ready for it.
Noted. I won't try it. But this is something that, should that implementation become stable and useful inside of Klipper, could you guys modify what you're currently doing, either with add-on boards or modifying the cassette PCBs to have fully interchangeable, trackable systems using hot swappable CAN?
So we actually already have CAN boards for the cassettes. We're not using them because you can't hot swap them, but we've already designed one.
Brother, this is how much time do you have invested in this? This has got to be a long time that you've done to get to this stage.
Full-time job for like a year.
Full-time job for a year, so about 2,000 hours,
Pretty
minimum.
much.
Yep.
A lot of time. A lot of time.
So the average full-time job is 8 hours a week, or 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, which comes out to just about 2,000 hours per year. So, yep, that's assuming you're only doing this 8 hours a day, and when it's a solo gig, you're not just doing it 8 hours a day. There are often long days involved in that.
Uh-huh.
But you have good assistants. That's really all that matters. You know, you've got the awesome assistants there. Okay. So in a perfect world, what would this have, and why is it currently missing?
It'd have hot swappable CAN bus.
And it's currently missing because Klipper doesn't have it.
Yeah. We've tried some workarounds, and it's you gotta basically make your own firmware from the ground up with where Klipper is right now to do some of these things. That's kind of also why multi-tool head printers are kind of trailing too.
Okay, so
that's the biggest thing that won't implement.
Okay. So what's the, I guess, are you one of the only people that are trying to get this hot swappable CAN? Because like I'm wondering if this is something that just isn't implemented because it's never been a demand, or if it's not implemented because no one knows how to do it.
So we can do it. It's just really kludgy. And I love the community and I love the open source stuff. But if you go asking certain people about Klipper, oh, I want a hot swap CAN, they're like, that's dumb. Why would you do that? It's not very helpful.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I feel like things are a little bit stagnant right now. We're not trying to push, and we should always be pushing.
Well, Klipper design team, you've been called out. There's a need for hot swappable CAN. There's a need for hot swappable CAN. We want you guys to make this. And if you can get hot swappable CAN, you can get more integration when it comes to multicolor systems. Even the ERCF could have it if it had hot swappable CAN. So, interesting. Thomas is asking if USB would be easier for hot swapping on the electrical level since Klipper still won't like it.
Side note, I'll answer that in just a second.
Sure.
Kevin and Rod Rules, please don't be mad at me.
They can be mad at me all they want. I have no idea who they are.
USB and CAN bus are essentially the same thing as far as Klipper is concerned because it's looking to identify an MCU on a serial network.
Yeah, I do know that one. I am aware of that one. Thomas asking, is it compatible with the upcoming Voron shower? The hell's the Voron shower? Is that a joke?
I agree.
Is that is the Voron shower a joke? They tend to do some joke stuff. Is the Voron shower a joke, or is it an actual product? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, good.
I haven't heard
then
about
I don't know
Voron shower.
Voron shower plus. It's got to be a joke now that Duff is in on it, so it's got to be a joke. Monkey Butler Labs asking, how stable is the BOM? Are there changes in development that will obsolete parts?
So far is in the cassette, there's 5 608 bearings. We changed one out for a RO4 ZZ bearing. Literally
Okay.
it. One bearing changed.
Yeah. That's really not that bad, honestly. That's pretty simple. Okay. Huh. So your actual electrical side of it's pretty well done. All you did was change one bearing so far, and that was more of a quality of life thing.
Yeah. As far as defining the bill of materials, though, I don't really want to set that in stone yet, just because right now we're working on the quality of life thing. I think actually loading the cassettes with the spool of filament could be a lot easier, but
What's the process now to currently load the cassettes?
let me grab one of the new ones.
Okay. Also, apparently, the Voron shower it's kind of a joke. It was an outdoor shower that Max built using extrusions, and according to TechJeeper, it is the only way to clean your furry costume.
Okay. Uh, I hope everyone can see this.
Yeah, yeah, I got it.
All right. So basically, there's a lip here to keep the spool centered in there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is tightly constrained because we're trying to make it printable on 220 by 220 printers. Again, making it accessible for most people. Uh, Loading it is taking your filament, feeding it through the respooler here, and then out the extruder just where you have a little bit exposed. And where it becomes difficult is getting the spool over top of that lip.
Yeah, that's a very tightly constrained spool. So we, do I have any handy? I do. So we have some big spools like this that are wide, and this is taller than a traditional spool. Printed Solid is no longer using these. There's just old inventory that I have laying around, but it might not fit. So what are your constraints for the spool currently to be able to use the system?
Um, we took sample of like 12 different manufacturers for 1 kilogram spools, and we kind of averaged that. And that's kind of what we base around is the average 1 kilogram spool. There are outliers, but most will fit in.
Well, and you guys are solving one of the big issues that Bamboo has, is that when you get toward the end of the roll, it has a tendency to pull the roll instead of leaving it in the system. By tightly constraining it, it shouldn't have that issue, right?
Yeah, no, they can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, no, if you're gonna say it doesn't go anywhere, you have to hit it twice on the top and say that's not going anywhere.
Not going nowhere.
Okay. See now, all the fellas out there know the rule, right? You know the rule. You got to do it. A Monkey Butler Lab saying Max is RCF, Russian Cat Food Founder of Warrant. I know this because Max shaved my head. Max shaved my head at Smurf 2023 when the Voron design team had the highest bid for my head. We auctioned off my hair. Well, we shaved my head, donated the hair to charity, and then we basically said the top donors can shave whatever they want into my head. So I had a Voron logo on the back of my head for like a month and a half. It was great. It was so much fun. And yeah, so I met Max. That was my first time really getting to talk with Max as he's shaving the Voron logo into the back of my head. It was a lot of fun. I would 100% do it again if my hair actually grew fast. It does not. Bruiser Records, anybody? Jeez. And Pezliz accurately just knew that this is Gold Winter Glitter. It is. I used it last week and I didn't put it back on the shelf yet. So it's there. Mad Cat said, what about putting a hinge on the camera right side of the latch on the top? Wouldn't that make loading easier? So I'm guessing that's so you can load in from the top, right?
So if people look at the thumbnail, that was actually a user that's been building his own 8-track Raven.
Mm-hmm.
The one cassette has a flat side on it. That
Mhm.
one opens the opposite. Like, so the spool drops in and then the lid closes over it instead of like a hook. It's already being looked at.
Well, ultimately, I don't think it needs to print on a 220 square, but I understand why you guys want it to be as accessible as humanly possible, right? The more specifics you put into it, the harder it becomes for people to get into it. Like a 180 is never going to work. 220 is pretty darn small considering the spools are often like 205, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So when we look at the system, you have it running on a switch wire, you have it running on a 2.4. What is a printer that you've always wanted to see this on, but it hasn't happened yet?
Actually, so I'm really into Delta printers, and I have been planning to put this on a V400 and do like 3 on each side of it, do 9.
Well, now it's
And
got to be the
always
S1 or the T1 because now the V400 is yesterday's news according to Sunlu, or not Sunlu, FL we did reach out for one and they ghosted us, so I have no idea. Apparently they do just randomly ship stuff, so I have no clue. And as Mad Cat says, we definitely need to get you talking with Mitch. Do you know Mitch?
Backpack Delta.
Yeah. Apparently,
Yeah.
if we say Delta 2 more times, he'll be there. Now I'm imagining, because he's in our Discord, I'm imagining like half the members of our Discord are pinging him to tell him to come in here because he's been summoned. That would be funny. I think it's way too early in the morning for Mitch, but we'll see. But yeah, I would love to see a multicolor system like this on Mitch's backpack printer. Because 1, Delta, duh. 2, portable. Because this is actually pretty portable. Because everything is self-contained inside of the cassettes. You can stack them, you can take them anywhere. It's simple, right?
I've been thinking about a bit of a joke, but I actually want to do it seriously, especially in light of the positron coming.
No, we joke about them all the time.
I want to put like a miniature 8-track with the 200 gram spools and fit it inside a filament box. It could work. I already looked. So yeah,
but it should only be
portable.
2. It should only be 2, and it is designed to look like an 8-track cassette. Okay? All right? So, like, if you're gonna do this, lean really hard. And that's your marketing, right? That's your marketing photos. It looks like an 8-track cassette, and then there's a small one that can fit into a filament box. So now you can take your stupid upside down printer. We love the positron. I just really like messing with the team from positron. You can take your upside down printer and make it do multicolor, because that's actually something that they've wanted to do but can't do currently. They don't have a way to do multicolor. Mind you, the 90-degree hot end would probably pose some issues, but that's not your problem.
If they send me one, I'll freaking make it happen. I will make it happen.
Well, that's clipped. So, oh, I don't know, Mad Cat or someone in our server, tag Nomad. Nomad's Galaxy, because there are 2 Nomads in our server. Don't tag the wrong Nomad. Tag the right Nomad. I think he's at lunch right now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's out on lunch right now. But tell him that 8-track guy said they will make one work for the positron, but they need a positron kit to do it. So I do think that would be super cool. I don't know if we can make that happen for you, but Nomad's
Talking
Galaxy.
about dreams of putting it on something. That's like second in line for me.
Well, part of the fact
it'll put it on the front burner if I got one.
A front burner?
I have constantly been putting off putting it on a Delta.
Yeah. What's a front burner?
Please everyone else. Put it on the front burner, take it off the back burner.
I thought front burner was going to be some weird Voron name because they have afterburner and stealth burner. I didn't realize you were making a Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm a little stupid, but we already knew that. David Connor Shover says up next, upside down Delta. Well, that's easy. You just Literally take it and flip it upside down. You're done. That's all you need to do for deltas. Deltas aren't even... Oh, he's been summoned. Nomad's Galaxy is now here. Tell him, since he's now here live.
All right, cool. So if someone were to send me a positron, I would make absolute certain that it did multicolor printing with our modular system. And I've got an idea I've already checked to fit 4 colors in a 1 kilogram spool box, make it mobile.
But that's only if you're using the 200 gram spools, right?
Yeah. We could also do a sled to use the bigger spools. But
so there it is.
I'm just saying.
We're just saying, you know. We might be super saying, but you got to yell louder to do that. You know, so just saying, Nomad. Let that one marinate. We'll be in touch. There you go. See? Making potential things happen here. We gotta love it. I would love to see this happen on some really unique person. I mean, if you're gonna do it on Delta, it's got to be the door on Velta, right? I mean, if you're going to, that is a door on Velta back there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been together and apart so many times. That's actually DV002. That was the first one out of the side of the design team.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So did Apex do 003? Because he seems to always get the 4th printer. I just we like Apex.
I don't know who got. I actually don't know who got 3, but I know someone did just the other day. And then
there's
Zombie
that.
Hedgehog's got one too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what number zombies do we know?
I don't think he actually did the serial quest yet. I know his is printing though.
Yeah, I haven't serial requested my Trident yet. I keep forgetting, and I don't want to join another Discord. I'll have to bother Max at Smurf or something. Be like, hey, give me a cereal. And if he's smart, he'll just have, oh my gosh, the Voron design team should pass out little tiny boxes of cereal to give people cereals while they're at shows. That would be hilarious. Someone says, can I have a cereal? And they literally hand you the little mini boxes of cereal. That would be hilarious. I believe there are some laws regarding giving away food. But that'd be freaking hilarious if they could do that. Are you guys going to be serializing the A-Tracks?
I don't know yet. Won't really know. It's a modular system, and how someone's going to implement it. There's so many different ways. What am I going to do? Serialize every single cassette?
Yeah, you don't want every single cassette serialized, because if I can't get sequential serial numbers on all of my cassettes, I will be angry.
Funny enough, I've got 7 of these Vorons, and until Rocky Mountain Rep Test, I never serialized any of them. They were mad at me.
So you serialized them all at the show?
No, I've been working on it slowly. I've done 3 of them so far.
Okay.
Delta.
Joseph Greiner is asking, so each cassette has a motor and sensor. When not in use, are the macros set to disable that motor so the hot swap doesn't damage the driver? Are there other protections?
If the extruder in the cassette is not actively engaged, it kills that driver completely, disables the enable pin on it. The custom control board, which maybe one day we'll have funding to actually produce those. If there's no filament, the stepper motor driver does not have enable power. Yeah.
I guess that makes sense too. Is that common with most Klipper builds and installs, that if there's no filament sensor being triggered, it cuts power to the driver?
Not at all.
Oh.
Okay. So if you have a filament sensor that's in the tool head and you have a loading extruder, like an old school switch wire or something where they had 2.
Yep.
That would create problems. You have the filament, but it's not where it's in the extruder or the hot end,
Okay. That makes sense. And those are the right types of protections. Cause you don't want to burn out drivers. That gets expensive fast.
I learned the hard way.
Yeah. So what would be the ultimate goal for you for this project? Because like you put a bunch of time and effort into it, and the fun issue with open source is it's difficult to monetize, right? But I figure you guys can start producing your own circuit boards and sell the circuit boards. That's a decent way to make a little bit of cash. Um, but what's the ultimate plan for you with this? Like what's the end goal?
Um, I wasn't super fond of my bamboo, and I wasn't super fond of the carrot feeder before that. And so, really, the goal was just to make myself a color changer. And I've kind of met that, but a lot of other people are into it. So, to continue it on, I'm sharing. And the reason why it's still like active development is because I can live with certain intricacies of it and whatnot and the poor quality of life stuff because I made it. But putting it into other people's hands, some of that stuff needs to be improved.
That's part of the deal when you're looking at building a product, right? We know how to deal with our products, right? We're used to it. We're used to dealing with the dumb stuff that's the issue. But as soon as you have to pass it off to somebody else, they're not used to it. And all of a sudden, that minor inconvenience to us is a massive problem to somebody else because they don't know. Right? Like the belt routing on a Trident. It's a minor inconvenience to people that actually know how to do it. For people like me, it was a 45-minute ordeal. So it does depend, right? And I like that because you're looking at it saying, all right, so this idea is actually not as dumb as it probably originally was in my head. Now other people want it. Crap! Other people want it. I actually have to make it user-friendly now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a struggle right now.
Yep. Yeah. That's gonna be a challenge, I think. Certainly one that I understand completely. We, as much as I don't want to, I think we're gonna end up scrapping our politician project. It's taking so long to remove a lot of the stupid little problems with it, that make it fine for me, but difficult for others. Uh, and then at the same time, it's a cost thing where heaters are now getting relatively affordable. So that's life sometimes. I get it. Um, are you guys actively looking to bring on other people to assist on the project, or are you still trying to keep it relatively small?
Right now, there's people that are contributing
Mm-hmm.
to certain things and kind of just letting them. As long as it's moving the project forward, uh, anyone is allowed to, to it. The beauty of open source, take a little bit of the load off of my shoulders, but it's still so infantile that it's still mostly on me.
That's fair. So if you could bring on people to assist, what would be the skill set that you would be looking for assistance?
CAD,
You
like a
need
dirty
some
word.
you need someone with CAD experience. Okay, what else?
Python,
Python. Okay.
CAD, and Python.
Well, if you want to contribute to an open source project and want to be involved in something that's honestly way cooler than I was expecting it to be. Like the fact that it's hot swappable and it uses pogo pins, like the man went through and did freaking pogo pins, y'all. If you have the skill set in CAD and you have the skill set in Python and you do want to be able to assist, ways to get involved via the GitHub are linked in the description down below. So if that is something that you would like to do, please reach out. Obviously, it's an open source thing. There's currently no ability for financial compensation, but you all can work that out on your own later on. Part of this is bringing this ability to the masses and making it more user friendly, and certainly an LDO or BTT or someone like that might be valuable here. But I would think that you might want to get a little bit more polish on this before you go to a manufacturer, because it can get a little messy once manufacturers get involved too.
Yeah. Yeah. We've already had a couple approach us. I'm just like, not ready. Just wait.
Yep. Soon TM, as the industry says. Soon
Yes.
TM. What about documentation help? Monkey Butler Labs is asking about that.
Yeah, actually, that would be helpful too. I didn't even think. See, I was just so used to, I know everything about it, so that doesn't even cross my mind. That's why we need more people.
I get it. Duff says that he can do MS Paint and QBasic. Is that enough?
It is not. We're a little bit more advanced than that, unfortunately.
Look, man. All right, you can get a lot done with MS Paint. That's all I'm saying. If it's
Gotta
good
be
enough,
at least 3D paint.
if it's good enough for Pirate Software, it's good enough for us. Damn it. If you don't know who that is, go look up his channel. He's got some pretty great content. His short form content is doing incredibly well. So a bit of a master class there on how to build a short form content based channel. Part of it involves knowing what you're talking about, which is why we have guests, because I never really know what I'm talking about. All right, so you're looking for coding, you're looking, or Python specifically, you're looking for CAD, and you're looking for documentation. What are some of the other kind of headaches with this system as it currently stands?
How many times people ask me the exact same question that was answered yesterday?
That's time for an FAQ. Okay. What else?
I'm not really sure. I kind of just been going with the flow. It works.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm curious, what's that question that they always ask you?
Usually it's bomb related, but it's like, do I need a filament cutter? Do I need a filament sensor in the toolhead? Which I made a YouTube video, and you don't need the filament cutter, but you do need a filament sensor somewhere close to the toolhead. That's everything.
Okay. Well, I am interested in seeing where this goes, because I think you guys have one of the more cleaner systems. Like, part of what makes the Bamboo AMS so nice is it's self-contained, it's clean, it looks good, and when it works, it seems to work well. Their first stage feeders are ticking time bombs, and as far as I'm concerned, they have a life cycle. And they're like $40 a piece, which is it's more than a hot end. Why is it more than a hot? I digress. If y'all do want to get involved with this project, there is a Discord link in the description as well, where you can join the Armored Turtle Discord, because I think you guys have a lot of potential here. Certainly it needs refining, right? But what project doesn't need refining?
Exactly. Thank you.
And I like that, and I'm calling out a lot of manufacturers with this one. This is a bit of a hot take. I like that you have already gone open source before it's finalized, before it's perfect. You've already gone open source, where a lot of manufacturers, and hell, a lot of even like kit-based printers, don't do that. So
the reason for that is just to make it better for everyone.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I do, because well, and at the same time, not only does it make it better for everyone, it can also take loads off of what you are required to do, because you might find people that are way smarter to do different things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always someone better at any given thing.
Yep. And as Nomad's Galaxy says, don't be chasing zeros. And don't be chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and lakes you're used to, based on my knowledge of pop culture. It's a bad song reference. I'm leaving it. Monkey Butler Live says, Discord sort of breeds repeat questions because it's such a mess organizationally. And yeah, Simple Electronics says it speaks right to their heart. That's their main problem with everyone moving from forums to Discord. Also, that info isn't search engine indexed. Yep. Yeah, there's the reason to go to Discord is it's just much more user friendly than forums. But yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Going. That's what we're on.
Yep. Joseph Griner says he wants us on his Tridex. He thinks he's found a new project to keep him busy. Like, I could see this being like super cool on like one of the new Rat Rig V Core 4s, right? You put it right on top of it, because you don't put it underneath because the Rat Rigs are thick on the bottom end. But you know, you've got all of this opportunity for adding it to any Klipper-based printer. Now, what about the Klipper-based printers? Like, we have a Cheedy Q1 Pro, right? That one is a custom Klipper. Do I have to do any modifications to Klipper to make this work? Or is it just a plug and play application?
If you have access to the config files in your mainsail or whatever, if you can web interface and get access to the config, you can just drop the macros in. And like Orca Slicer, you just reference it by T1, T2. Just start painting as many colors as you got.
Yeah,
yeah.
Orca's at least good in that regard. I really do wish Orca would get better support for tool changers. That would be something that I would love to see. Because yeah, tool changing is a different freaking animal, man. It's awesome, but it's a different freaking animal. Does anyone have any questions for Robert here? Because I want to make sure that we get any more audience questions here. My goal for this is to be able to help more people get access to this project, but being someone that is not currently, what's the right term? I'm not smart enough to do this, right? I'm not smart enough to do this project. So people that might be smart enough, I'd love to know what, specific questions that you guys might have that haven't, obviously been asked. Because I look at this and say, all right, once we get documentation, I can look at, hell, I am happy to review your documentation and see if it is easy enough for my idiot brain to figure out, because that's a big deal. I would consider myself the average first-time user, and this product looks like it could be positioned toward the average first-time user.
Certainly trying to put it in a mindset like that where literally anyone that can run a 3D printer can do it. The most complicated thing here is building the extruder, which if you can repair the extruder on your printer, you can build this.
Yeah. I'm not even worried about building the extruder. For me, it's the software side that's always the challenge, but I get that if it's just one little thing in the config file, it's not that bad.
Yeah, we're actively trying to make it as accessible and easy as possible.
Accessibility is the big deal. That's always been something big in this industry, is making sure that projects are ultimately accessible to individuals, no matter what their skill set is. Yes, there will be some floor, right? If you're below this skill set, this project's not for you. But if your skill set's below that floor, you probably already knew it, and you can work to getting there, which I think is valuable. Nomad is asking, will there be an integrated dry box feature?
Yeah, well, it kind of already is a dry box. Each cassette, you could print a TPU gasket, latch it shut, put some desiccant in there. But more specifically, there's obviously, oh no, it's white. I don't see that gray one. There's a reason there's two different. That's white because of super glue, because I broke this. There's two different pogos, and there's a void here because active drying is something we were working on.
Just don't print it out of PLA if you're going to do that.
Correct. Do not. It's going to have to be like polycarbonate ABS blend or something.
Probably pure ABS should be fine, or ASA. I mean, most dryers are you really only need to get to like 70, 75C max. Because if you're printing something like Peak, Peck, or Ultem, you're not doing this. I'm sorry. those rolls of filament cost more than building one of these. So, you know.
I say that not because of the average temperature of the enclosure, but because of the hot spotting that you experience with running heaters, especially inside a plastic thing. The localized temperatures can get kind of warm.
That's fair. Yeah, a fan might help circulate that some, but I like
Yeah, that's part of it, but
I like that you guys have actually like thought ahead and said, "All right, we at some point want an active dryer. We're not there yet, but we at some point want it. So let's make sure that we have electronics ready for it. There's pogos ready for it, everything like that because there's value in understanding what the future should look like so you can work your way in getting there. What do you think the timeline is on active drying?
when I feel safe to tell people how to do it without burning their house down.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Heaters are no joke. Please don't hurt yourselves. Let's see. 3D Prints and Printers says, will a Voron be better with a tool changer or an 8-track? I'm developing a version of a Voron and need to decide soon what I'll create. I mean, if you're designing it, I feel like that kind of depends on what your use case is, but I don't know, Robert, maybe you have some better insight there.
Honestly, my ideal system would be like an IDEX printer with 2 banks of colors going to each tool head. Then you could be loading the next color in one tool head while one's printing, and you just make for faster color changes. That's my ideal kind of build.
I've always said I want to put an MMU3 on I want to put 5 MMU3s on my XL.
25 color printing.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can do I forget how many colors the ProJet 660 Pro or the Z Corp 650 is, but it's well over 400,000 colors in a single build. But it's also not a filament printer, so there's that. If any of you saw Joel Telling's recent video with the Mimaki printer, the Mimaki is I don't know, the new style full color polyjet is the new style. The old style was full color sandstone, of which I still have a full color sandstone printer that we've got boxes of parts for at the moment. Like pieces that came off the machine that I need to ship out still. Yay! But yeah, you could. I would love to see that because then you're not going to have slowdowns. I always look at IDEX as being like for soluble support material, right? That's my value of IDEX is soluble or dissimilar support. It's like the main reason we use our XL. Other than for big ass parts, it's for soluble or dissimilar support materials. So I like this idea of the IDEX,
Yeah.
man.
The advantage too is you can only put so many tool heads on a printer, right? That kind of limits your colors, but you can do as many of these as you want.
Mm-hmm. Well, as many as you have the space for, right? You end up being space constrained pretty heavily. So, but that's okay. So, what about filament backup? So, FJ Prince is asking, has it got filament backup? I'm assuming that's like rollover, right? Or do you think
Are we talking about respooling or logging the information of the filament itself?
He's either talking about like backing the filament onto the spool, or he's talking about can it just switch from one spool to the next as you run out of one spool? I believe the answer is yes to both.
Yes. It's the same as it's in Orca. You just have to, enable rollover and tell it what color. It's the same as any other.
Works. Makes sense. Yeah, like if one spool is empty, yes, that's filament rollover. So yeah, you support filament rollover, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet.
Here's one of the modules. This is a respooler, and it's actually filament driven, passive. And of course, I say that off the track. Just
life.
pushing the filament back spins the spool.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. Um, John Luce, hopefully it's Luce and not Lucy. I always get people's names wrong. It says, is there any chance that you will be at 3D Printopia, formerly East Coast Rep Rap Festival?
If I can afford it.
So what you're saying is you need a sponsor.
Pretty much.
So is there a way that people can financially support the project? Is that available on GitHub?
I've got to buy me a coffee, and I'm selling these boards right now until a manufacturer takes over, but that's really about it. I'm also really not making any money on this.
Where your coffee link is not on your GitHub. Fix that.
The person that's responsible for that knows who they are. Do it.
Fix it! Because, yeah, look, so one of the most successful campaigns I was ever involved in.
I see him in chat, so.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah, I see him too. I know who it is. So when I was involved in fundraising stuff, one of the most successful campaigns we ever run was a Kick-a-Buck program. Because if every single person that you needed to work with gave you $1, every single person that you were ever around gave you $1, you could make a lot of things happen. If you need $5,000, it is easy to ask 5,000 people for $1. It is very difficult to ask one person for 5,000 and still get a yes. And so the idea of the coffee links and Patreon, PayPal, YouTube channel members, yes, I am also using this as a means to do a call to action, deal with it, is that it costs you guys very little to support the stuff that you like. So if you want to support Robert in getting out to Earth for 3D Printopia, and you want to be able to support him in being able to do this more and full time, go support him. Do I have that link? Is that, if that link's in my description?
I sent it to you on Twitter, I believe.
You did? Great. Let me pull that, and I am going to put it in the chat. Yeah, I got it. I am going to put it in the chat because I can do these things. I don't know if that's going to work. So let's try it. That work? Yeah, it did. Good. If you all want to support what Armored Turtle is doing, go support him. Buy him a coffee. 2, 5, 10. It don't matter. The goal here is that the small incremental donations go a long way into helping, smaller creators. 1, value their damn time. 2, be able to afford, the minimums in life. Because it's not easy to go full-time on a project, right? It requires a lot of effort.
I can't even describe how much effort. It's crazy. I didn't think it. I honestly did not expect such a big reaction to it. I was just, we're making our own kind of thing. Someone likes it, that's cool. But no, people love it.
I think it's a really cool system, and not only does it, in theory, work well, you've solved a lot of the problems, you've also made it look good, which is it always seems that form follows function here, and you took a big leap in making sure that it also didn't look atrocious, right? I'm sorry, but the ERCF is not pretty. It's ugly. It might work, but it's all mechanically exposed. They're cool. I want to build one, but they're very hobby grade, where yours looks much more professional grade. And I appreciate the hell out of that, because as someone that wants to do and show you guys more professional grade 3D printing, having professional grade stuff goes a long way, right?
It might look professional, but we're all amateurs,
Dude, we're just basically a few raccoons in a trench coat trying to figure it out. So
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. ultimately, we just keep trying until we get it right. And I think that you're on the right path. I'm really excited to see what happens because you guys are not the only ones that have or are working on a open source AMS. And I will tell you, this is a really, really good integration. I did not know that the cartridges were hot swappable. I didn't know the cartridges had any hardware outside of like some roller bearings in them. You have full electronics inside of there. You have a plan. You've got everything that is needed to build a proper hardcore project. What you're missing is the right people to help out. And you know that. And that's okay. Welcome to open source. So if you do want to help out, go to the GitHub, go to their Discord, let Robert or any of the other team over at Armored Turtle know. Because honestly, yeah, this is pretty damn cool. TechDad47 says, will there be a possibility of a built-in dryer later? We already talked about that. The answer is yes. It's even has the wiring for it already. It's just not, it's not implemented yet due to safety concerns, which is incredibly valid and useful. So thank you for actually giving a damn about safety. Most people don't.
Yeah, I just don't want that turnaround on me or where someone actually getting hurt from it.
Yeah.
It being my project that did it.
Yeah. Sometimes having a conscience is a bit of a bummer when it comes to business. Having a conscience and no lawyers is bad for business. That's very, I'll say that's very clearly sarcasm, but I'm not entirely certain it's all that sarcastic anymore. Nonetheless. Yeah. Dude, I think you got a really cool project here, and I think it's going to be incredibly valuable to this community. Is there anything that you want to leave the folks at home with before we call this one a wrap? Or is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Ooh, I was just trying to get more people to actually build the thing so that I can get the feedback and improve it to where we can actually get with manufacturers and start making kits and make this accessible as cheap as we can and really bring multicolor printing to everyone.
Can I correct something from you? I don't often
Gosh.
like to correct people. Do not use the word cheap. The word is affordable. The word cheap connotates cheapness. The word affordable.
You're right. You're right.
Dude, it's something that like,
You're right.
That's the business switch in my head. That's like, nope, it's not cheap. It's affordable. Remember, it is about being affordable, not being cheap. If you want cheap, I don't know, change the roles yourself. If you want affordable, this is the way to do it. Affordable is a big, it's a big shift, but it helps out a ton.
So as affordable as possible to as baller as possible. Active dryers, tons of them, you know, just everyone in between.
So if we want it super baller, do we have to have Hendrik gold plate it?
That'd be pretty cool.
We talked
about making these cassettes will fit on the new Voron Cascade. We were talking about milling one from Billet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Your boy likes Billet. Your boy can't afford Billet most of the time, but your boy likes Billet.
Right.
So I'm here for it. I'm here for that. I have kind of a dual question for you. It's one question, but it's two questions I'm turning into one. And this will kind of be my final question for you. Does it need a filament cutter and or a filament sensor?
You do not need a filament cutter unless you have an awful. I love the Revo hot end, but tip shaping in that is just the worst.
I'm just giving you crap because you were saying that's the question you get asked all the time. So I typed it out so I could ask it as the last thing that we ask on the show with you. Get you to laugh a little bit.
You don't need a cutter.
You don't need a cutter. Exactly.
You don't need the filament sensor, but it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
And These things, this is literally just a filament sensor. Just put it in the Bowden path and
Yep.
wire it up. It's not hard. These cost like $3.
And this can obviously work with direct drive as well as Bowden, right?
You know, actually, that's something I'm looking to experiment with the Delta on is Bowden.
So So
I
you
haven't
have it
done it
currently
yet.
working a lot with direct drive. Okay. And
Yeah.
Spectre V3i is asking, what does affordable mean? BOM's around $250. So and that's for a 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's less than an AMS is going to run you. So that's pretty darn affordable in my opinion. Cost effective we're seeing as well as another means of putting it in. So yeah, dude, that is I think that's going to call it. Is there anything else you want to leave the folks at home with?
Just join our Discord. If you want to know about it, just join the Discord. There's all kinds. Just scroll through the Discord. Look, tons of questions I'm going to ask. There's lots of videos in there.
Yep.
Check it out.
Nick T's asking about cutting down on wasted filament. That really depends. There's so many it depends in that. So I assume it could, but it also may not. It depends on how you run it. It depends on your settings. So
this 2.4 here has a cutter, and we've got it pooping, and it poops less than the bamboo. It's still wasting. You're gonna have any one nozzle multicolor thing. You're gonna have waste.
Yep. That's life, though. You have to understand that that's going to be part of the process. Well, Robert, seriously, thank you for joining us on this episode. I've enjoyed learning a little bit more. I don't generally get to learn enough about this kind of stuff, so I'm glad. I will probably have to join your Discord here. And I'm just going to start bothering you when you get ready for a decent launch, because if you all would like to see us build an 8-track, let me know in those comments. Leave it in the chat, because I think it'd be a really fun project. I got to have some documentation before I do it. I should not be trusted on just a BOM and then to send it, because I will likely get it wrong. But when the time is appropriate, we would love to show it off on the channel. We'd love to build one, and I'd love to do something really fun with it. I have an idea, but I don't want to say it, because as soon as I say it, people hold me to it. Regardless of whether or not it was like, oh, this was an idea. No, you're gonna do this. I'm like, I don't know about that. But do you know my outro?
Man, this is something about make it awesome.
Dude, I told you I was gonna ask you this.
You did.
It is something about making awesome. This has been episode 189 of the Making Awesome podcast with the Armor Turtle 8-track, aka Open Source AMS. That is all we have for you all today. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one.